She's a first-generation immigrant from Hong Kong, well-educated woman with a bachelor's and master's degree, and she also happens to be a veteran of the Navy, who has traveled extensively around the world while in the military. She's very proud of her military service to the United States and is a strong American and defender of the country and our Constitution. So I'm going to allow Mr. Peter to bring on Ivy. Can you hear us now, Ivy?
I can. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. That's great. So without further ado, Miss Ivy Liu from Colorado Springs. Ivy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing down there, a little bit about your family, and let the audience know who you are.
Hi, Hugo. So nice to meet you. So you already said enough about me, really. I'm a proud grandma of 5. I have 3 daughters who all happen to be in town or close by. My son-in-law serves in the Army, and my other son-in-law serves in the Air Force Reserve. So we remain a strong military family. We all love this country, and I feel called to protect. Once I found out what's been going on in this country with education and everything else, since COVID, really, I woke up during COVID, I decided that I am heeding a call from God to do what I'm doing right now.
That's great. So how long have you lived in Colorado Springs?
17 years.
17 years, okay.
Yeah,
and
I'm from California.
You came from California, all right. One of the good ones from California.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So
me too. I'm from Cali too. Nice to meet you, Ivy.
San Diego.
OC.
Peter and Ivy from California. We need more like them.
Right.
So Ivy, how long have you served on the board in District 49?
It's going on over 2 years and about 4 months now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you up for re-election?
I was supposed to be, but there's been some gerrymandering that happened, so I'm no longer, at least for now.
Okay, so are you going to be termed out, or are they shoved out?
No, I'm not termed out. I actually have 2 terms I can run for because I was appointed to my current term, but that's a long story. They did some redistricting. I call it gerrymandering, and I am actually currently no longer eligible to run because they changed my the district lines. But we're seeking for answers from God. So.
All right. So what's going to happen with the election then in the district that you're currently serving?
Well, we have 3 that are opening up, 3 spots out of the 5, and we are just praying for the right people, the true conservatives that will hold true to their campaign promises to put D49 back on track. It is very much, in my opinion, off track. It is headed towards indoctrination and pronouns and all the stuff that's going on across the country, and I'm going to do everything I can to stop it, along with finding other candidates that are that will do everything they can to fight this, because this is a fight. We are at war for our children, and we have to fight this.
Right. And what is so is CRT taking place in that district? Oh, did we lose you? Okay.
Yeah. For a second. Sorry.
CRT, is that a thing down there?
Oh, it's very much a thing down here. Although that's gone through all kinds of what do you call it? Changes, change in appearance, change in word, change in description, but it's the same old attack from the enemies, a Marxist / socialist / communist attack on this country that is being embedded in, starting with critical race theory, and then is now being hidden under the cover of something called social emotional learning, which is SEL, known to everybody else. It's very insidious, it's very nuanced, but it is in the schools, in every school. really across the country, and it is indoctrinating our kids. And I hope to be able to explain a little bit more about how that works. Most parents are oblivious to what's going on in the schools, because most of us, even when I was raising kids, we put our kids in schools and we trust that they learn what they're supposed to learn. That is no longer the case depending on where you are, even in El Paso County. So one of my crusades or goals is to educate the parents about what's going on in the schools so that they start getting more involved again. The parental involvement is, I think, at an all-time low compared to when my girls were young. Parents are no longer in the schools, in the classrooms helping out, and so they need to wake up to what's going on with their kids.
Right. Well, as we know, the left is very adept at changing terminology whenever light is shed on one type of activity. They change the terminology and then say, well, CRT isn't going on here. So now it's as I've been reading your synopsis here about SEL, which I had not known about, which is social emotional learning. To me, it sounds like another form of brainwashing. And basically, that sounds like what they're moving towards, and they can truthfully, I say truthfully, say that CRT is not being taught. Well, perhaps CRT isn't, but SEL is. So let you tell us a little bit about SEL and what that is, when it started, and how it's being implemented.
Sure. Our education system, and I want to make sure this is known to everyone, it is on a precipice, and some would say it's already gone. I have faith. I have faith that God is going to rescue us, rescue the children. It is on a precipice and almost at a point of no return if we don't step up and take control of our education system, our country, to return to the principles upon which this country is founded. And we have gone quite far away from it because of all the indoctrination that's been going on in the schools. And I'm not just talking about the future of education. I'm talking about the future of this country, because they are coming after our children, just like you talked about Sound of Freedom, in a very different but very insidious way. They're coming after our children in education. Let me just go back a little bit. United States is literally the last barrier to world domination by communism and globalism. And we are under attack, and we have been under attack. We have been targeted for decades by the enemies of this country, enemies of freedom. And it is now being done through our children. So as you know, every dictator in history has targeted children, whether it be Russia, Communist China, Venezuela, Cambodia, Nazi Germany. They have come after the children to train them to become revolutionaries. Communism, socialism, and Marxism are all about raising revolutionaries in our children. So we have domestic enemies. They are embedded in our country in important positions in universities and the government. And so first, decades ago, they removed God from the schools and other public institutions. So since the Marxists cannot use economic classes as a means of division as they have done in other countries, they first went to critical race theory, using race to divide the country. It actually started with Obama, and maybe even before that, using race as a way to start fires between people, creating hatred, creating all the division that you have seen since Obama was in office. So that has evolved into now gender theory, gender ideologies, and what they call queer theory. This is something they call on their own. And they are targeting our children because race didn't quite take off in this country. So now they have moved on to what you're hearing about quite frequently in the news about LGBTQ, gender ideologies, and it is just another weapon, another method that they are trying to take down our kids. So I'll go a little bit more into how it is being done, but just as in the case of black versus white, it is not the people that are pushing for this hatred really don't give a hoot about black people. They're there to create hatred between these two groups. So the same is going on with LGBTQ and the trans. Are there some trans or LGBTQ that are part of this very activist, very hateful, dialogue? Yes, but the people that are really pushing it are in fact the enemies of this country that are trying to create hate between the majority of Americans and a very small minority group. And when I say small, I'm talking about people with gender dysphoria. Actually, it's like 0.01%. That is a very, very small percentage in this country. Yet they have
classic. It's the classic tail wagging the dog theory.
Right.
To hear it on the news and to hear other people speak about it, you would think it was like a huge percentage of the population, but it's not.
Right. It's not.
And to be fair, also with the gay community and others in that community, it's a very small percentage that are the radicals driving the agenda. It's not the mainstream, because when you talk, and I have friends who are gay and conservative, and we talk about this issue, and they're very much in agreement with me that this is wrong, that the children should be off limits, and that live and let live should be the policy with regards to adults. But when you start attacking the children, then that's where the hair on my neck rises up, and I am very passionate about making sure that parents start really paying attention to what's going on with their children in the school. So that's kind of what I'm seeing as well. Go ahead with your.
Well, Hugo, I look forward to working together with you. Just like I said, to stand between this awful, toxic ideologies between that and our children. I can't even get to the emotions that I feel when I see children being attacked. Just as I have had a really hard time with the Sound of Freedom, this is a different form of attack, just as insidious, just in a very different form. And everyone, whether you have children or not, whether you have grandchildren or not, need to stand up and fight this fight. I'm just so absolute about that. And like I said, I hope we can work together to just wake up people. But pretty much, the SEL, social emotional learning, is in fact the Trojan horse. It first came in as character development programs. Well, teachers and educators have been developing character for as long as time has existed, right? They don't need programs to learn how to do this. They do that as a natural love for the children, which is why they went into teaching. They don't get into teaching to get rich, right? As you know. The term equity, DEI, and equal outcome, all of those are the foundation of Marxists, socialists, and communists. Every time you hear those words, you're talking about those political systems. And so the radical left are masters of manipulation and have formulated a very strategic, long-term, multi-decade, multi-front plan of attack on our children. So what is SEL today? It comes in, again, the people that are trying to sell this are calling it character development programs. It is anything but that. And so if you do a little bit of digging into what it is, what it really is, SEL has become very bold. The people that sell the SEL, first of all, SEL is directly associated with the son of this our terrible AG, Merrick Garland.
Yeah.
And he's making millions upon millions off of these SEL programs. Okay, but in 2020-ish, 2019, 2020, they have come out boldly and finally, at least be honest, and announce what SEL really is about. And on their websites, right there on their websites, they say, we are here to produce social justice warriors, to create a level for equity, and basically to transform society. They didn't say transform society to what? It is to transform our society into a Marxist/communist, whatever you want to call it, collectivism. They're trying to
Yep.
turn our country totally away from the roots of how this country was founded into, well, the next level of communism. And so they actually announced this on their website. Now, there are educators and administrators in the schools that refuse to acknowledge that. This is basically a salesman telling me this is what I'm selling. And then somebody basically saying, no, I don't believe this is what you're selling. This is really what it is. So they are just playing games with lies and so on, trying to lie to people and parents that SEL is something better than what it really is not.
Well,
So,
they're very adept at denial.
mhm,
I mean, I was watching the sycophant known as the FBI director in front of Congress and
yeah,
lying through his teeth.
right,
And it, and then when they challenged him about some of his positions, he actually tried to portray himself as a conservative.
yeah,
Uh, so yes, I know how these people are. Their whole agenda and their whole mantra is that if they just deny, nothing can get through to them.
mhm,
Nothing can be exposed about them. And so there has to be a way to reach the parents so
mhm.
that the parents become the catalyst for this movement. Now, that's assuming Merrick Garland doesn't classify them as domestic terrorists.
Well,
Uh,
he already has, right? So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, to know that Merrick Garland is involved in this is a classic case of conflict of interest,
right.
and he's sworn constitutionally to do his duty as the attorney general, and yet here he is behind the scenes promoting this type of activity, which is
Right.
anti-American activity.
Oh,
So,
it's outright communist, right? And so, as you know, every single country that has ever been conquered by communism, socialism, Marxism has failed. Every single one of them. There
yeah.
is no success story. The only
Well,
people that
we're
believe
the
it could be.
last great hope.
And it is the schools. I mean, I was just reading about how, in communist China, CCP, there's the communist youth. I can't remember the name of the party. It was a
Red Guards.
Chinese name. Red Guards.
Red Guards.
Yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
they're actually defecting because of our influence on them.
Hmm.
But you can see, I was a derelict. I couldn't go to university out of high school. I was too busy just trying to survive. And then Jesus saved me, thank God. But so I wasn't exposed to the neo-Marxism, absolute brainwashing you see in the upper education. But that is why we are here today.
Hmm.
I can't tell you how many well-intended Christian conservative parents send their kids to public education, public college, thinking it's harmless, and they come out hating God, hating them, and hating
Right.
their country. And
Yep.
this has been going on for decades. Well, that's exactly why the millennials hate America.
Right.
It's a
Right.
disconnect. What does Satan want to do? He wants to disconnect the children from the fathers, right? That's all.
And
He wants to make a whole bunch of orphans. That's evil's intent. Make orphans.
well, the
Well,
separation from the parents is indeed one of the tenets of the handbook, the Communist Handbook, the manifesto, is to separate, to break up the church, to break up the family, and so they become individual. Well, and then by dumbing down the kids in education, according to John Dewey, who is another communist, multi-prong attack. And so you end up with a bunch of useless, well, what the communists call useful idiots. They can't read, they can't write, they don't have any strong philosophies because that's been brainwashed out of them during school. So what do? They follow orders, they become revolutionaries, which is the end goal of communism.
Well, it's they go to school, and part of the game plan is to undo the values being taught by the parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if a child is in a Christian home and they have certain values, uh, they are a prime target for these people to undo those family values and
Right.
create confusion among the young minds, so that they start, wondering, well, who's telling me the truth, and
Right.
confusion. And that's all part
Distract,
of,
disorient, and divide. The
yep,
three
Yeah.
Ds.
that's what
Exactly.
they're good at.
Right.
So
Very much so.
Ivy, I want to ask you this before we move on, because respectful of your time. I want to talk about school boards, micro perspective, planting of bad seeds, suicidal ideations, and transgenderism.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What's fear mongering, which is kind of what I see with the whole suicidal
Yes.
section.
All of the above. You got all of those right. There is nothing incidental or accidental about any of this. It is a well-planned scheme to take us down. And so we need to be aware of every aspect of it. I don't know that we have enough time today to talk about every aspect in detail, but I'll try to go as fast as I can. So anyway,
well, we're going to have you back. So be be aware
I
of
don't have
that.
to
Well,
talk too fast.
this this
Okay.
is not a topic that's going to go away, and we
No.
want to bring light to it. So we want to have the opportunity to bring you back and update us on what's going on with the school board races, and also to see what we can do to promote some good candidates down there, so that board can be shifted to where it needs to be.
It could be salvaged, yeah. Yeah, we can go more into the school board, which is like probably my biggest, outside of, educating parents, that is my biggest amount of time that I'm spending on trying to recruit. And we are being more picky than we have in the past. We're kind of getting tired of being stabbed in the back after you promote somebody and then have them turn on you and vote something totally opposite, which is what happened at the last election. But I just want to I've talked to parents, good Christian parents, church going, and when I say, do you know your kids are being taught SEL? I said, what? What's that? So they have no idea, and this is the daily practice that the kids are doing in the classrooms. They take 30 to 45 minutes every day, precious time that they could be learning how to read, write, and do math. They are doing their circles, and these circles, you know what? There are teachers, and I want to say this very clearly. There are teachers who don't want to teach us junk. And so they either change the content or they don't teach it at all, but they are kind of required to do so by their respective administration. And so, and then, but mostly some of the SEL is so nuanced, unless you really look, you don't really know. It is teaching a kids towards thinking collectivism and being, one of many group think and all of that. You have to really look. So I have been accused of attacking teachers. I'm not. I'm attacking the administration that is bringing this stuff in. But many teachers, one of the top three reasons are leaving, teachers are leaving the profession, like permanent attrition. One of the top three reasons, reason number two, is that they don't want to teach this stuff. That's not why they got into teaching. So that I want to defend the teachers, the good ones, because they either don't want to teach it and they leave the profession, which is really sad, or they teach it, but not to the extent they're supposed to, and others are just clueless. And then, of course, there's that handful, because they have been indoctrinated, are actively teaching it.
Right.
Well,
So they're
when you have the Colorado Teachers Association, the union in Colorado, come out and make a statement that the problem with this country is capitalism,
right.
uh, and that socialism is what should be pushed, then you know that you've got a radical group.
Yeah.
Now, I'm with you that I believe that the overwhelming majority of the teachers are good teachers. They have good intentions in their heart, but they're handcuffed by the teachers' unions and the administrations.
Right.
And I think a time for pushback in that regard is definitely imminent. And
Right.
but we have to organize and unite the people so that they start pushing back. And when they see the parents doing it, I think we'll start seeing the tide turn. But until you get people that are parents that will actually believe what's going on, and not believe the other side who claim that it's just a bunch of hyperbole and and
Conspiracy. Yeah,
conspiracy theories, that kind of
my
thing.
favorite that I hear.
The question that I would have, and I think there was a district where somebody proposed that they install cameras in the school room, in the classrooms, and I think that's a great idea. Because then there should be a feed where parents can tune in and see what their children are being taught. What's wrong with that? I mean,
Well, I
if
actually
we
asked about that at the beginning of my
Because
my
parents aren't
service.
safe.
Well,
Sorry.
they said there's privacy problems because there's situations with foster kids and other kids that could be endangered if they're some bad parent or caretaker are
no,
seen. So at least that's the reason I was given. So
that's a cop out.
that could be. I'm sure there's ways. A good lawyer. I mean, when I say good lawyer, I mean one on our side, not some of these sleazy lawyers that we have out there.
with
But
with technology with technology you can blur faces and other things where you don't have to
sure.
invade. you know we just want to hear what is going on in the classroom, and that's what they're afraid of. They don't want parents to hear what's going on in the classroom.
Well, that's what happened during COVID. This is how all this came about. They
Yeah.
didn't intentionally want to let parents find out, but because they were shutting kids down, that's how parents found out. And they said, "What the heck is going on?" And this is how a lot of it started. But
Yep.
if I may go into just a little bit, it's a very innocent situation, but it illustrates very well how SEL is being taught to the kids. So I actually went and observed a preschool class, and it was very innocent. There was nothing the teacher was doing wrong, but it indicates humanity and social psychology. So they were in a little circle, and the teacher says, "What is your favorite season?" One kid says winter, and the second kid says summer. Well, the third kid says tornadoes. And everybody laughed. And then the teacher says, "Oh, you silly, tornadoes not a season." Well, because that boy got a little bit of extra attention, guess what the next 4 out of 5 kids said? Tornadoes.
Right.
Okay. That is groupthink in action. That is the bandwagon, whether or not they mean to do it, because it's cute, it's popular. And that is what social psychologists call, either bandwagon or I can't think of the other word right now, but group think. And so that was innocent. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it illustrated a very common social psychological phenomenon. Now, what
Collectivism.
Collectivism.
That's one. Yeah, that's another one. That one other word would come to my mind here in a second. But so
you said groupthink, herd mentality, and
herd mentality. That's it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one. Yeah. So herd mentality and again, and the bandwagon. Now, what if that teacher, like I said, she was very innocent. She was not about that. What if you had a teacher that brought up the question like, how many of you think you're in the wrong body? How many of you don't really think you're a boy if you're a girl? And so on. I mean, can you see where that could go?
Right.
Right? I mean, the need for a child or an adult actually works across all ages to belong, to not stand out, to be different. It's so strong that it is being used as a weapon to teach SEL. Okay? So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, it's interesting. I was reading about I just draw a blank. Harry Potter author.
What's her name? Yeah, I know she.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm not a Harry Potter fan at all, but I think she's brave and she's my hero now. So she's talking about that, with transgenderism, teenage girls, entire groups of teenage girls are all of a sudden becoming transgender. So, I mean, if this is something that you're just born with, well, then how come all of a sudden groups of friends are all of a sudden coming out as transgender? Why is that?
Yeah.
Well,
it's
a trend.
It's a trend, but it's more than that. I actually did a whole study on that I won't be able to cover today, but I'm kind of following a young lady named Chloe Cole, who was the ultimate example of somebody at the young age of 12 pushed into this whole transgender thing, where she actually immediately started taking blockers and then the testosterone, and then cut her breasts off. And now at the age of 18, oh my gosh, it's a sad, sad story, but I can't go into that today.
Yeah,
But
they're destroying children, and
they're destroying children. And this is being done by medical professionals, counselors, that are pushing this along with no regard, obviously no morals, no principles, no sense of any kind of ethics, that they're doing this to children. I mean, what is driving them? Is it money?
What is it? It all goes back to the Old Testament. Molech. I mean, not to get super spiritual, read the Old Testament. Who's the false god Molech? Who did they sacrifice their children to? Who did they kill their babies and eat them for?
Right.
You know? It's like, that's what we're doing. Everything we're seeing now happening in elementary schools started up in higher education, and it just keeps seeping down. It's like college professors, the conservative ones, they get ostracized for speaking out. So what do? They either quit or fall in line. Now it's the same thing in elementary schools, and it'll just keep going.
Yeah, it's going until we say stop, and until enough of us say stop.
Yep.
There's no end to the depravity.
And then we need to say it loud and clear. Right. Ivy, we're up against it on the time factor. I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of give us a final statement on what you would like to see moving forward, and I promise you we will have you back on, and we'll discuss more in detail some of these other related topics.
And maybe let me ask you something, Ivy, because I'm a father of an 11-year-old going into 7th grade. So what would you tell all the parents out there? See, I pulled my kid out of public school, years ago. We've been homeschooling. I was considering putting him back in until they passed that law that, non-transparency in Colorado, Douglas County, particularly is where we are. But what would you say to the parents like me who are like, well, I'm not giving my kid over to any Marxist to get brainwashed 8 hours a day. So, what would you say to parents with kids that, don't know what to do? How can we help? What should we do with our kids' education?
So, because I was so clueless about this whole indoctrination thing in our country, my 3 daughters, who are now 31, 29, and 23, but for the grace of God, did not get indoctrinated. And I can only attribute that to the fact that we did do nightly devotions on the Bible, for the Bible, without knowing why I was doing it, other than to make them strong Christians. I think that's part of the reason why all 3 of them grew up to be, non-radicals, not woke. Thank God, thank God, thank God. But what I tell parents is that have a strong foundation in the home, whether you take them in or out of school. Even homeschoolers, they need that strong foundation in the Lord. They need to know what God, what God's word says. You build that every day. It's not once a week, not once a month. Every night you talk about something, you ask them, talk to your children, get them off the videos, get them off the phones. In fact, take away the phones, take away social media. That's what I would do with what I'm recommending for my grandkids. Whether my daughter listens is another story, but get them off of social media. And in fact, when we talk about Chloe Ko again for the transgender, the social media is one of the biggest weapons against these girls, the love bombing and so on. So get them off of social media, don't give them phones, give them little flip phones if you have to get in touch with them. Build a strong foundation in Christ, in God, or whatever religion they're involved in. But most importantly, get involved with looking at the homework. What are they talking about? Talk to your children at dinner table. If you haven't had dinner together, start having dinner together. Get to know your kids, look at their homework. And most of all, if you have the time, go into the schools. Go into the schools, volunteer. And Peter, I want to address something you said about, pulling kids out of homeschool, which is great. But guess what? Someday, 80 to 85% of the people around your homegrown kids will be surrounded by 80 to 85% of public school educated kids. So we have to save the public school system. Like I said, I've been told, why are you still doing this, Ivy? You're just getting beaten up. Because I cannot walk away. We have to save 80 to 85% of those kids that have no choice to homeschool, to go to public school, charter schools or private schools. I have a superintendent tell me, and it is forever poking at me until I'm done with this battle, if I'm ever done with this battle. This superintendent told me, I asked the question, why don't we go bend over backwards to improve the public school system so that we can bring back some of the people that have exited to homeschool, to charter schools? His answer was, there'll always be 80 to 85% of the kids who have no other choice.
Right. Yeah.
That gave me creepy skin then, and it gives me chicken skin now, that those are the target of our enemies.
And school choice is another topic that I've near and dear to me, because I believe that the
Free market.
the Hispanic community has been polled, and 80% of the Hispanic parents would love to have school choice, and they don't. And it's not about destroying the public schools. It's about improving the public schools, because it's always been proven that competition improves the situation. So if there's a failing school, then I say either fix it or shut it down. And that's the way I see it. And that's what they don't want to admit, is that if you create competition, it makes everybody else have to step up their game and improve their education in their schools. And that benefits everyone. So
we can use FAFSA funds for any college, right? But we can't use it for any elementary school. We should be able.
We should have
taxpaying dollars we should have the freedom to decide where we use that to send our kids.
The money belongs to the parents, in my opinion. The money should follow the student.
Except at this point, if the money follows the student, there is that. It won't go away for quite a while unless there's legislation change of the strings. Once you accept federal money, if the money follows the kid, there are strings attached that you.
But it's not federal money. It's not federal money. It's the parents' money. Parents pay the school taxes.
That is not how they view it.
Well, I understand that, but that's the way it should be done.
That's the way it
what
should
I'm
be.
saying.
Right.
Yeah. And so my idea is to create school choice that will benefit everyone across the spectrum, including public schools. Because what they don't want to do is that what the teachers union doesn't want to do is they don't want to fire bad teachers. In fact, it is so difficult to fire a teacher these days. They're protected by the union, and you could have a teacher on the edge of pedophilia and still not be able to be fired. So this is what has to change, and the parents need to get control back of their districts. Public school system in this country was founded on the basis of local control. What was good for their community, they got to decide what was going to be taught in their public schools. We're so far from that now, it's not even funny.
Oh yeah, the NEA, the National Education, all the national organizations, they need to be done away with.
They need to do away with them. All right, Ivy. Well,
J.K. Rowling, just to make the correction, Harry Potter was J.K. Rowling. She's one of my heroes, but now, Ivy, you're one of my heroes too.
Oh,
so Jesus bless you. May the Lord bless you in your work and everything you do and everything your hand touches. So
we're going to be, you have a friend in this show, so anything you need to put out, let me know. Send it to me. We'll include it in future shows and and help get the word out. So
I have a lot more to say about how they're contaminating the language, redefining words. All of it is towards the end goal of making parents stop complaining, indoctrinating the kids, making them think bad things are good, like the Bible says. It is all part of the handbook of communism. And I'd like to be able to explain more of that in the near future. But please pray for good D49 school board candidates.
And go to our website and you can download this show and share it
Okay.
with people that you have connections with. So
Okay.
help spread this show so that more
I
people
will.
can or listen to this conversation that we had tonight, and
Okay.
start planting some seeds.
And we do need to talk more about minority kids, Hispanic and Black kids.
Absolutely.
They fall anywhere from 5 to as many as 28% below what's already really bad academic scores, CMAT
Yep.
scores. And they're not being addressed. Those problems are not being addressed by
Yep.
superintendents across the board because their attention is elsewhere, which is to indoctrinate all the kids. So
All right.
we need to step up this fight. We do.
All right. Well,
We're gonna
Ivy,
keep
thank
it
you for
going,
coming
Ivy.
on tonight. And we'll definitely be in touch. Thank you for your
Okay, thank
time.
you so very much. Nice meeting you, both of you.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Okay, bye-bye.
Ivy. We'll talk
All right.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.